ceasefire meant to still the guns has already cracked. Hamas fighters surfacing in Rafah, yellow lines crossed, Israeli jets answering from above, and Gvir demanding a return to all-out war at full strength. If this was the calm, how fast does Gaza fall back to fire? Just over a week into what was supposed to be a period of calm, the fragile ceasefire in Gaza has fractured. According to the Times of Israel, Hamas armed operatives emerged from the ground in Rafah and opened fire on Israeli engineering vehicles on October 19th. IDF responded with airstrikes. Al Arabiya reported 3 separate strikes hit the area. This marks what Israeli sources are calling the most serious breach of the agreement since it took effect. The incident in Rafah wasn't isolated. Further north in Jabalia, a security source confirmed that several Hamas fighters crossed what's known as the Yellow Line, the boundary where IDF forces repositioned themselves after withdrawing from deeper inside Gaza. 2 of those who crossed were killed in the Israeli response. Palestinian sources reported the deaths shortly after. An IDF source said,
Hamas has carried out multiple attacks against Israeli forces beyond the Yellow Line, violating the ceasefire.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz received updates during a government meeting. A phone assessment followed between the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, and senior military officials to determine how Israel would respond and what operations would continue in the Strip. However, Hamas official Izzat al-Rishek told Reuters that the group is committed to the ceasefire agreement.
It is the occupation that continues to violate the ceasefire and provide excuses for its crimes.
Media outlets affiliated with Hamas in Gaza report that the operation was intended to target Yasser Abu Shabab, the leader of a militia operating with Israeli support in the area. The question now is what comes next. The ceasefire was already fragile, built on distrust and competing objectives. Each side interprets the rules differently. What Israel calls defensive action, others might see as escalation. What Hamas calls resistance, Israel views as aggression. While military commanders assess their options, political pressure is building inside Israel's government. National Security Minister Itamar Gvir didn't wait for deliberations to finish. He issued a public statement directed at Netanyahu, calling for an immediate return to full combat operations. Gvir's statement was unambiguous.
I call on the Prime Minister to order the IDF to renew full-scale fighting in the Strip at full strength. The false belief that Hamas will change its ways or will even abide by the agreement it signed are proving unsurprisingly to be dangerous to our security. This Nazi terrorist organization must be destroyed completely, and the sooner the better.
This wasn't just political posturing. Gvir had already drawn a line in the sand. Speaking to Channel 12's Meet the Press just one day before, he told Netanyahu he had set a deadline, though he didn't specify when it would expire. His demands were clear: dismantle Hamas completely and enact the death penalty for captured operatives. If those conditions aren't met, his far-right Otzma Yehudit party would leave the coalition government. For Netanyahu, the calculation is complicated. His coalition depends on parties like Gvir's for its survival. Losing their support could collapse the government. But resuming full military operations risks international backlash, more casualties, and the collapse of negotiations for the hostages still held in Gaza. The Prime Minister now faces pressure from multiple directions with no clear path that satisfies everyone. Meanwhile, the ceasefire that was supposed to bring relief to both sides hangs by a thread. The incidents along the Yellow Line show how quickly things can spiral. Each shooting, each airstrike, each death makes it harder to return to the negotiating table. What was meant to be a pause in the fighting may be turning into just another chapter in a conflict that neither side seems able to end.